everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Crypt Choir. I am your host, Lewis, otherwise known as Dixie Normus. Unfortunately, I don't have Dylan with me today. He was a little too busy to re-record, since this video is the second take of this episode. First one, there were some audio issues. Not sure what happened exactly. There was no audio captured, and even in this one, I'm seeing my camera is getting blurry and I can't seem to fix it. So yeah, just having a lot of technical difficulties. Yep, this is just going to be take number 2 for it. But in this episode, I'm going to be talking about my tournament over in Ukiah, Attack of the Cloned, and going over some Modern Horizons 3 leaks and spoilers. So mainly leaks, since nothing, I don't think spoiler season officially started yet. I think that's next week. But yeah, so right away, let's get into my tournament over at Attack of the Cloned in Ukiah. Right away, getting to Ukiah was quite a drag. No, it wasn't a normal route going to it. I don't know, I forgot what freeway was taking me, but then Google Maps, does the like suggestion of, hey, there's another detour or different path you can take that's gonna save you a few minutes. So I foolishly was like, yeah, sure, whatever, faster time to get there, for sure. So I took that, and it took me through the windy roads of the mountains, which the area was fantastic. It was beautiful, even during the night. There's this like lake up there that this bunch of communities are circled around, it looked really nice at night. But man, there was like no service for like an hour that I was driving through the mountains. I got super debated by Google Maps, so that sucked. But at least the view was great. But yeah, I know my phone kind of just gave out since there was no internet service, and I'm not familiar with the area, so driving around blind was a little scary up at night in the mountains. But not too bad. There's really only one road, and eventually I'll hit some community or town with Wi-Fi and I'll be back online, which is what happened. So not too big of a deal. Didn't take any wrong turns. So everything was pretty good. Got there the night before, stayed at a hotel, stayed at a cheaper hotel just because I wanted to save some money, and definitely regretted it. Yeah, they had like breakfast, which is why I stayed up there, and wasn't too far from the play space that they were where the event was being held. So decided to do it. Got up in the morning for breakfast, and breakfast was bran cereal, frozen waffles, and yogurt and toast. So that was whatever. Saved me some money. It wasn't terrible. The room was a little humid, but it was not bad. Just some place to sleep and crash. So after that, I make my way over to the venue, catch up with some people that I know, some other cEDH grinders, and just catch up, chat up with some bros out there. And I wasn't completely sure on what deck I was going to be bringing to it. I've been on a harsh loss streak on Blue Farm. I used to, for those who don't know, I guess I don't know if I mentioned it in episode 1, but I used to play a lot of mono white since I think Theros Beyond Death. Once that deck came out, I think that's when I was on mono white till, I don't know, maybe like a few months ago, maybe beginning of this year, I think, is when I switched over to Blue Farm, just because getting dubs on mono white has been a struggle. Most I was able to get, it was a top 16 at Chaos with it, and it was a battle. So I've been on Blue Farm, and when I initially switched over to Blue Farm, I went on quite a good win streak, at least locally, and I was doing really hot on the deck, and then everything just turned around and I've been on a huge loss streak. So my morale has been pretty low on Blue Farm, and it's honestly, a quarter of it has been just the usual Blue Farm hate. Like, oh my god, it's Blue Farm, we gotta target him, we gotta make sure he does nothing, take him out of the game ASAP, turn 0. I definitely have experienced those games, and they've been kind of like, yeah, at that point it's like really hard to like try to politic and talk to the table when they're like dead set on like being afraid and like already in a mindset of they're gonna lose because it's Blue Farm. So those games are tough. But honestly, it's just been a lot of like not getting good draws, or just not having the correct removal for the situation, or being tapped out. Like a lot of games, I keep a turn 2 Ristic and then I lose like that turn. It doesn't get back to me. So I have a lot of games where I'm like, oh, well, I guess turn 2 Ristic wasn't the call there and I just lost. All right, so partially bits unlucky, partially misreading the board, and obviously the blue farm hate. But so far I've been on quite a loss streak and my morale has been low. So in the interim, I've been trying out Stella Lee, and she has been super fun. Definitely not a like turbo deck, but definitely a like, oh, I win, which is great. Like I had one game with Stella where I had no cantrips, no win cons or whatever, and there was like a huge counter war of someone trying to win, and I cast my spells and I cast flip a cantrip off off of Stella, flip it into one of the win cons, and then I just win on the stack, which was super cool. And that felt like really great. That was really cool. And then just being able to kind of like brute force wins, she's been pretty great. So those are the 2 decks I had on me at that tournament. And that morning of, we had like 30 minutes to kind of lock in the deck list, and I was still like on the fence, like, man, I know blue farm's a stronger deck, but I've just been not having good luck with it. I've been just struggling with it. Stella Lee has been really fun, and it's new hotness. I could probably sneak in some wins since people aren't too familiar with her, and she's just super fun. I've been having a lot of luck with her recently, partially due to the fact that not a lot of people know how to really deal with her. So I was like struggling, going back and forth on what exactly to do. But overall, I'm like, you know what? I need to stick with blue farm. I got to get more reps in. It is just the better deck overall. I just need to stick to it. And so I stuck with blue farm. So I did try to scope out some competition and see if there's like what deck would be better, but everybody was just kind of like playing Lorcana at the store. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what any of the magic people are playing today. So I'm like, cool. And it seemed weird because like everyone was playing Lorcana. I'm like, ooh, how many people are here for Magic? It seems like 7 people that I recognize. Like, ooh, it looked like it was going to be a low turnout. And I mean, it was small comparatively to other bigger tournaments. There was, let me double check, 22 people overall. So compared to some events, it was pretty small. But honestly, out here for California, that kind of seems to be the average, I think, for tournaments. I'm not too sure. There's not a lot of like LA ones that kind of get advertised very much. I know there's like some of the bigger ones like Propaganda and Fire and Dice, I believe. They have some bigger ones that they announce once in a while, but yeah, I'm sure they have bigger ones that they just do on a weekly basis that aren't announced, since locals kind of already know about it, unfortunately. But for this kind of area where I'm at, this is pretty average, pretty good numbers. So once everything got locked in, I got a little relieved, like, oh, okay, there's enough people here, hopefully, because the first place prize was a volcanic island. Like, oh man, I want to get a chance at that, and if there's not enough people, that's gonna suck if that's not the prize in the prize pool. So luckily there's enough people, so that was great. Going into round 1, I unfortunately was in 4th seed, so already a definite blow to the morale. I'm like, all right, I'm already losing on blue farm, and now I'm in 4th seed. Like, oh man, this is terrible, but whatever. So in 1st seat is a Kess player, 2nd seat is another blue farm player, 3rd seat is Kidden. I don't know, I think he is, I don't know if he's a local to that general vicinity, but I've seen him up in the Sacramento area that I've been going to a lot and going to tournaments. So it's great to see him. He's a good Kidden player in my experience so far. He's, I've enjoyed playing with him and teaming up to him and thwarting wins with him as well. So it's been great. He's been a good opponent to be up against. So it's great to see him in the pot. And then me in 4C on blue farm. So right away we start playing. The 2nd seat starts to get in a commanding position already. He gets a lot of rocks out. He gets Tim out pretty fast. Crom out pretty fast. Then he had a Bowmaster, and then man, he had a what's it called? A Smothering Tide. So he was like already like super in the lead. It was like turn 3, he like had all this stuff out. It was like looking really bad. I was drawing a bunch of Dookie. I had what was it? I think a turn 2 Ristic, and I'm like, man, here we go again. I keep a turn 2 Ristic, and this guy's got, Smothering Tide on turn 3. Like, damn, like, man, I don't know. I guess I'm only getting down to 6 for it too, so it kind of sucked that already. Like, I'm only 6, turn 2 Ristic, just not good enough. So some people just have the nuts, I guess. So we're going through, we're playing, we're having a tough time trying to catch up, and this guy's already like at some point we're like on turn like turn 7 or something, and he's got like 9 treasures, whatever. He's got this big old army. Timna and Crom out, and just like a full grip. It was not looking good at all. Get to my turn, and the blue farm player misses a trigger for the Smothering Tide. So I, go like untap, upkeep, draw, nothing announced, go to play, and honestly I forget about it too. Play my land, play a land, fetch land, start cracking, start searching, and he's like, oh hey, there's a trigger, and I'm like, well, that's a missed trigger, and then the cast player just kind of loses it for whatever reason. He got very upset about it. He, was like, oh, what are you talking about? It's not a May trigger. You can't miss these triggers. And I'm like, well, it's a tournament play. So there's kind of different rules and things that we have to, go by. And right away it was apparent that this guy's not very much a cEDH player. Or definitely not a tournament player. For sure casual. Definitely. I don't know if he's just here to try it out or what, but definitely not a cEDH player. And he was losing his mind. The blue farm player was like surprised too, and was like, he's not wrong, it's not a made trigger. And so we're like, oh, we'll call the judge, because normally in these things that happen, when the player who controls this trigger misses it, usually it'll be put on the stack, or we vote. The table votes if they want to put it on the stack or not. Obviously it's going to be advantageous for me to not vote for it, same as the Kinnan player. We're like, oh yeah, but this cast player just like would not stop. He would not let up. He was just like losing his mind. Like, I was surprised of like how bothered he was by this at all. It was unique. I wasn't sure about it. Judge comes over and he rules of just, yeah, we're putting it on the stack. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. Here's your, take your 11th treasure. It doesn't matter. You like pretty sure you're winning on your turn, whatever. Go to my turn, and to continue with that, the goes over complaining that, we weren't announcing we're going to phases. So I'm like, well, we've never been announcing that we were going to phases, and when we do, it's just like untap, upkeep, go to main phase, normal ways we do it. And we're not, actively like, hey, I'm going to main phase, hey, I'm going to draw step, hey, I'm going to combat. We don't really do that a lot in cEDH, at least in my experience, so that guy saying that was like, okay, that's weird, because you haven't been doing the same thing and you're trying to tell that to me. Like, that's kind of weird. So once the issue got resolved by the judge, I obviously decided, okay, well, the best course of action is some malicious compliance, since this guy is gonna be such a weird dude about this and like throw such a fit over a single trigger. So obviously I'm announcing every single time I go to my phases to give them ample time, and he is like fuming about it. Like, he is so upset about it. I'm like, you wanted me to tell you when I'm going to phases, and I'm telling you I'm going to phases. So I go through that a couple, like a few turns, we go through that, and for some reason blue farm either he's missing like some pieces or something, or he just wants to make sure he has like a bunch of counter spells or a lot of protection to go for his win, which he has ample time to like find all of that, because like we're super behind. So we get a few turns of that, and this guy just starts like fight playing me, counter spelling on my stuff, destroying all my like random stuff on my board. Like, he's just like hard targeting me. This guy is like on full tilt. He is like, mauling over here, and I'm like, I mean, I wasn't winning this game anyways. Like, this blue farm player just has like the nuts, so sure, bud, like whatever. And then blue farm finally tries to go for a win, and before he goes for the win, I'm getting hit myself. I top deck a Wheel of Fortune, and on the board right now, obviously still the Bowmaster and the Smothering Tide. The rest of the stuff in my hand is not garbage. I haven't drawn much because the blue front player is able to pay for everything, and then the cast player is like, intentionally like tapping himself out just to pay for all my stuff and not let me draw any cards. And then Kinnan just isn't really playing stuff. He's like definitely has like a reactive hand. He's like not really casting anything. He'll cast like a rock. Like, he's casting like maybe one spell per turn if at all, and he lets me draw just because like we are super boned right now. And the turn before the blue farm player goes to the win, I show the Kinnan player, Gabe, I'm like, hey, Gabe, I got this. And I show him my Wheel of Fortune in my hand. And the Kess player, again, just like, he's being super loud and obnoxious, just like, whoa, what's going on here? What are you doing? And I'm ignoring him because I'm like, I'm done with you, bro. Like, you're a non-factor in this game. Like, I'm whatever. So me and Gabe are interacting, talking about this card of like, I'm telling him like, this is all I got, bro. The rest of my hand is, dog. Like, I don't care that he knows I got no win attempts or whatever. I'm just trying to make sure we're trying to stop this blue farm player. And I'm showing him like, this is all I got, bro. Like, should I rip it now? Or is your hand that good that I don't need to rip this? Because otherwise I'm passing and I got nothing, and you're basically in a 1v1 with the blue farm. He's thinking about it pretty hard, and that shows me that he's got some kind of win con in his hand. I'm not sure which one. And he's kind of thinking like, I know he's thinking of if it's worth it to pitch away his current win con and possibly draw interaction, or if it's good enough to battle up against the blue farm player, which I personally did not think it was at all. Sure, there's also the fact, there's also the case of like, yeah, maybe blue farm just doesn't have the win con, and if we wheel, he does draw into it, or he has a win con but like no backup. So it's kind of just like, oh man, trying to think about which situation is like where to be at, what to do here. And in that meantime, that Kess player is like losing his mind. He's like, oh my god, what is this two-headed giant? He's freaking out. And the other blue farm player is like, no, he can do that, man. This is cEDH tournaments. He can reveal, that's perfectly legal. This is normal. This is whatever. Trying to like talk him down. And this Kess player is just like not having it. He's just like fuming still. So I'm like I said, I'm not interacting with him. I'm not engaging with this whatever he's got going on. It's super weird. So I'm just here talking with Kinnan, trying to see what we can do in this game. And he's he tells me maybe wait another turn cycle, and I tell Gabe, I'm like, hey man, I don't think we got another turn cycle, but if your hand is that hot, all right, let's see it. Pass the turn. Kess does nothing. I think he like blew up a rock or something, or bounced a rock, something. He did something inconsequential. He passed the turn, goes to blue farm player, draws, and then casts the Grand Abolisher, and we go into a big stack with that. I only draw like one piece of interaction after I do like fucking 6 cards in that whole like counter battle that we're having over the Grand Abolisher. I show off my one interaction, and then Gabe tries to rip a Hullbreaker Horror on top and try to do some kind of win con, which I think was not a good good timing. I think he should have ripped that first. That way, when he's showing counter spells or something, he can like be bouncing stuff at the same time, like bouncing like the Smothering Tide, bouncing the other thing. Because every time I'm drawing a card, he's getting treasures. Or same thing with Gabe. I think he also had Risk Study or Fish. So I think he probably just maybe incorrect sequencing. Maybe Hullbreaker Horror first would have been better, just to bounce all like the Valley pieces off, so we're not like getting pinged every time with the whole with the Bowmasters and him getting treasures, because that definitely made sure he was always like hot and drawing stuff. But that was like my only thing about it. But honestly, at that point, it probably didn't matter. But that was my only thing. So after a while, we go through all our interaction. We got nothing left. At the very end, we're just like both looking at like, S, do you want to do anything? And he's like, no, I tapped out. I'm like, well, yeah, I probably shouldn't have tapped out to like do nothing. But we didn't expect you, so we just thought we'd ask. We obviously didn't say that because that's rude to say it, but that's what we're looking at each other and we're thinking that, like, yeah, of course, whatever. So blue farm takes it, very commanding, almost no opposition. Like he just completely went through. Yeah, he just had so much stuff. He was such in the lead. So right away, game 1 loss. I'm like, already I'm like, don't get tilted. It's just the one game. You had one random guy, nothing you really could have done about it. So I'm like, okay, get over it. Move on to the next game, whatever. So we go on to round 2. And round 2 is me a first seat, Hallelujah. Second seat is another blue farm player. Third seat is a homie, Zach, and he is playing God, it's man. Let me pull it up real quick. What is that commander? It is, jeez. No, it's green, black and green. No, it's not black. blue-green, sorry. Kaidel, there we go. It was Kaidel and Tavesh. Pretty spicy brew. I honestly think it's worse than Thrasios. I don't think Kaidel does enough. But you know, whatever. So he had Kaidel, Thrasios, and then in fourth seat was another Kingdom player that I didn't recognize. So the only person I knew here at the table was my buddy Zach. So right away I'm like, oh, fantastic first seat. I'm definitely, you know, this is great. This is the best. If I lose here, then for sure I'm bad at Magic and bad at Blue Farm. So go in, look at my first 7, whatever, not too great. Definitely could do a lot better. I think it was like a lot of lands and like rocks. So it was like turn 2 Timna and like nothing else in my hand. So I'm like, I could do better than that. Go to my second 7, and it is a turn 2 breach combo if I draw a land. And I'm just like, oh, that's a little hard to pass up. I have breach in hand, I have gamble, I have brain freeze, and I have LED, but I only have 1 land, and I'm like, oh man, this is pretty good. I think I gotta keep this. Yeah, so I'm like, you know what, I think I gotta keep this. So I keep it, draw, not a land. I'm like, okay, whatever, you know, land. I'm like, I guess I could play out the LED, but I'm kind of scared to telegraph that I might have like an LED kind of combo or something early on. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to feed in. Also, there might be, you know, some shenanigans or something. So like a Dockside from the blue farms. I'm like, I'm not gonna play it. I don't want to feed anything. So I pass the turn. Goes around, everyone develops some stuff. Goes back to my turn, draw, no land. So I'm like, okay, it's getting a little scary now. Not looking too good. So I pass the turn, goes to blue farm. He starts doing some scary stuff, setting up really nice. I'm like, okay, we're getting a little scared. Go back to my turn, no land. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I don't think I can wait anymore. Blue farm's starting to get some significant things on the board. I need to do something. So, you know, I just like, fuck it. I go and pop a gamble, and I'm like, I'm getting a land. And no one interacts. Everyone lets it go through. Get my land, doesn't get pitched, play it, pass the turn. And then blue farm player goes to his turn. He casts a Wishclaw Talisman, and then he casts a Ground Abolisher. So we're just like, oh shit. They all look at me, you know, we're all looking at each other like, you got anything? And I'm like, hey man, I had a gamble for a land. No, I don't got nothing here. And I don't. I have no interaction. I have no protection for this combo. It's literally just the combo. So, you know, not lying. So I'm like, yep, nope, I don't got nothing, man. Like, that's like, I kept the really, I tell the table, like, I kept the really greedy hand and it didn't pay off. So I am in catch up mode now. So I got nothing. So Kinnan player bounces the Wishclaw Talismans, all that he had. Ground Abolisher lands, doesn't do anything, passes the turn. Gets over to the other turn. The other players, they manage to get rid of the Ground Abolisher, and then goes back around, doesn't do nothing, sets up more stuff, and then I know my buddy Zach, he goes for a top deck tutor, I believe, gets some interaction, and I'm starting to, now I'm like, okay, now I gotta set up the combo if I could even go for it, and now I gotta like try to fucking, you know, hopefully rip it off and no one's got anything. So he goes and has interaction, so I'm like, now I gotta think about 2. I gotta like, hopefully he goes, blue farm goes for the win, and then he gets stopped by the other 2, and then I can be free to do my combo. So go set up, pass the turn. Blue farm tries to do some stuff, gets stopped. He also tapped some mana wrong, if I remember correctly, so he couldn't continue doing some stuff. But he got stopped with like 1 piece of reaction, and then he had no mana to keep going, so he passed. And then Zach set up more. He, you know, wanted to develop, but he thought about it. He's like, no, I got to keep up some interaction hands. And then Kinnan shows, I think he was like Basalt, and tries to go for a win, and he has to use his interaction to, you know, stop him. Goes to my turn. I see that everyone's tapped out, and I'm like, oh wow, is this the dream right here? Is this it? So I'm like, let's do it. You know, cast the breach, show the combo, and everyone's like, yep, we're good. And my buddy Zach's like, no, I got the removal. I'm just tapped out because the blue Kinnan player had to go for it. And, you know, shows his hand, he had the interaction for it. And blue farm just like, yeah, I had the win in my hand, or a win attempt. So I'm like, whoa. So I go through the combo and I win out, which was great. So get my first win. I kept a really greedy hand, definitely got punished for it. And then luckily with other people, probably going for it too early, maybe. It's hard to say. But definitely them getting stopped allowed me to have the win. So that was fantastic. Really great. Awesome win. So fantastic. That's how my game 2 went. and feeling pretty good. Awesome. Now we're going on to round 3. So in round 3, it was another Kinnan in first seat. One of my buddies from Sacramento, he was playing God, what was it? Jacob. I'll try to remember to post it up on the screen for the viewers, but it's the card where you like tap him, draw, pitch something underneath him, and then you can pay 6 mana to flip him, and then once per turn cast something for free that's underneath him. Mono blue deck. I've played against this deck before, like, man, I don't know, like a year ago or something, and it definitely did some crazy shenanigans where it just kind of won out of nowhere and was hard to interact with it. So yeah, I was like pretty scared. I was like, oh man, and he's also a good pilot too, so I'm like, ooh, all right, I know I got someone at least I know at the table is like pretty scary, and I gotta watch out for him. Me on C3 on blue farm. C3's not that bad, it's all right. Well, better than C4. And then C4 is a Tali. So I'm like, oh, a Tali, that's kind of scary. I don't really want to see a Tali because I've, did some friendly pods with friends and someone was playing a Tali and they've like ripped a lot of important pieces of combos off the top of my deck. So definitely don't want to see that. So that sucks. So we get to our turns and I'm keeping like a pretty slow grinding hand. And I'm like, you know what? I think this should be fine. I got like him to turn 2 and then I can start doing other stuff. Should be fine. So we go around, setting up, playing some rocks, whatever, and then we get to an Atali turn, and he just goes for a Atali. Like land, like ritual, gets out the Atali, and we're just like, whoa, okay, me and the Kinnan player, like, she's like asking me if I got anything. I'm like, nah, I got nothing. And then buddy, his name's Donovan, with the Jacob deck, he's like, I got it, and we're like, oh, okay. He shows a mana drain. And me and the rest of the table were like, oh no, that's terrible, and that's the, oh no. And obviously the Tali player is like super heartbroken. I mean, I would too. You just spend like 3 spells to get a Tali out, and he was just like, whatever. But you know what, oh man, I keep getting ahead of myself. Beforehand, I don't know what was up with this Atali player, but he was in a Debbie Downer mood, and it feels really bad. I don't know what was going on, some bad experience recently, but man, like right away we got to the table and he was like, oh man, blue farm, we're gonna lose a blue farm. Like, man, I hate losing a blue farm. Like, man, dog, the game hasn't even started yet, man. Like, don't be thinking like that. You got a Tully, you can easily just rip win cons off me and stop me. Like, trying to like, talk to him and, let him know, like, that's the negative attitude to have right away going into it. And I'm like, even me myself, I have a negative attitude right now at the moment. Like, I'm in a fucking huge loss streak, and help me to talk to him and be like, hey man, don't worry about it. It happens sometimes. It's just a strong deck for a reason. You can tell them, blame wizards. They're printing generic good stuff. That's their, this is what they wanted. Try to lighten the mood. But still, and then he gets counterspelled at that moment. Now he's like, all right, now blue farm's just gonna take it from here and win. And I'm just like, what? I don't really got anything, man. I haven't really developed stuff. Like this guy right now, buddy, is gonna just pop off with this mana drain on his turn. I don't know. So he's like still trying to like like fearmonger the table, or just, I don't know, just expressing his like sadness, I guess. It was pretty heartbreaking, honestly, to see. I'm like, hey man, come on, like, don't be thinking like that. So we go around, Kinnan players kind of not really drawing a lot of good stuff. I think they were drawing, I remember them showing me at the end of the game that they were just drawing all the big flip stuff, so they really didn't have anything going on. Goes to my buddy's turn, and then he goes, activates his commander, and then flips it. And I had an interaction piece for it, but I didn't realize that him pitching underneath and then flipping is all one, like, it's all one thing, so you can't like interact with it at all. Once you like pass priority in it, he tucks, pays the cost, flips it, it's all one whole like thing. So I was like, ah, man, I had a bounce spell for it and I wanted to use it for that. So I'm like, damn, okay, that was like a big punt for me. I definitely thought I had another chance. Like, it was 2 separate triggers and it's just one whole trigger, so that sucked. So he had a flip and he had like commanding board, and then he played like back to basics and locked me out, and all I had was like 2 rocks. So I'm like, oh shit. And yeah, so I was like, yeah, that sucks. Luckily my hand was a Lotho, so he sets up and he has like a dominating board now. So I'm like, okay, that sucks. We go back to my turn. I just cast a Lotho and I'm like, I got nothing really else to do. I'm gonna pass the turn. Goes to Tolly. He starts doing some stuff, and again, he's just like, oh man, you know, like we're gonna lose a blue from. We're gonna lose a blue from. This is man, like just really Debbie Downer mood, and I don't know what else I could do or what else to say. It just seemed like he was stuck in this like really bad mindset, and you know, at every chance I could, I'm just like, hey man, you know, the game's still going. We're not, you know, it hasn't finished yet. I mean, I'm not the one in a commanding position. We got, you know, this guy over here. I'm locked down by this back to basics, because like all my land is, you know, basic, non-basics, and I don't tap it, so I just have 2 mana for my rocks. I don't got nothing, bud. So he goes over, does an Atali, gets enough mana for it, and starts doing some flips. And at this point, I'm like, oh, I'm like looking at his board, I'm like, oh shit, he's got the combo, and he doesn't go for it for whatever reason, which I think just in that mindset of, you know, I'm gonna lose, he just missed the trigger, and you know, he stole some stuff off us. There's nothing insignificant really, and then just passes the turn, and I'm just like, whoa. All right, we take those. Goes over to the Kittens player, and she's just like, you know, I don't really got anything good. I got something that might be able to help, but it's not that, you know, not that great. And I'm just like, you know what, man, at this point, whatever. Nazzle Hull Breaker, like, whatever. Like, you got to bounce this back to basics, because she's stuck under it too. A little bit. I think she's got like 1 island. So I'm like, just whatever, man. At this point, just rip it. Just play whatever. We need to slow down this guy. I have some removal for it and some other stuff, but I need to draw into it. And I eventually will. So, you know, she cast a 1-year cake. So we're like, oh, perfect. 1-year cake into the extra turns deck. This should be fine. Yeah, this is okay. We're good. Any interaction he has, stop it. Perfect. So we get to his buddy's turn, and he's looking at his stuff. He's like, okay, well, I don't know how to do. I can't really deal with this, or, you know, he doesn't seem like he can get through a 1-year cake. So he decides to get a Phyrexian Metamorph with, I forgot, I think he like tutored for it or something. I don't know if it was like, man, what was it? He tutored for it, I believe. Or unless he had it tucked underneath. I can't really remember. But he got a Phyrexian Metamorph and then just made a copy of the 1-year cake. So I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. Awesome. That's great. Goes to my turn, and I get a Fimage. And there is a, I typed like a Fimage. And I'm like, okay. I got like 4 treasures. There is a Dockside out that I could cast, but I'm not really doing anything with the Dockside, and I don't have enough. I definitely can't go for a win through 2 1-year cakes. So I'm like, I could just like, you know, get the set up really nice and get a bunch of stuff out, or like, you know, I had like a tutor and things. I could do that and set up really well. But I had like a Wish Claw, and I'm like, I don't really want to give it to anybody in this board state. So I'm like, I'm gonna go for the safe play. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna cast Fimage, and I'm gonna make my own 1-year cake. So now I'm gonna make sure we're, you know, really stuck. At this point, the game is looking really grim for me. I got like these 1-year cakes on the field. I got back to basics. I'm like, I don't know about a win's gonna happen. We got a Tolly over here that can start swinging, and he's still like potentially has a win in hand. He just doesn't see it, and he's already missed it like twice. So I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I think I'm just gonna pass the turn, whatever. And you know, we go to Tolly's turn. He tries to equip. He gets out a Conqueror's Flare, tries to equip it. You know, get rid of the equipping. I could have bounce something else, and he's like, why? You're like, well, buddy, you know, I want you to draw me some cards, and I don't want you to just try to win uncontested here. Like, obviously I'm not going to. And he's already like, again, he's like, oh my god, or you know, he's gonna win. He's, you know, making sure, you know, stopping my flail and whatever. He's killing just dorks. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna just give you a free win. I'm like, oh my god, what is it? I'm like, I don't know what to do about this guy. I don't know how to handle this situation. You know, without just like, you know, blurting out like, dude, you know, chill out. You haven't lost yet. The game's still going. We're at a stalemate, probably gonna go to time. Like, there's like 15 minutes left on the clock. So I was trying really hard not to just like lose it over here just from impatience. So goes, he doesn't do much. Pass the turn. Doesn't do anything, and then at the end of each turn, the my buddy is the Jacob player is like slowly getting rid of all the pieces stopping him, all the 1-year cakes. And it's getting like really bad. Finally get to his turn, and we're able to have enough interaction to stop him. He goes, well, as he's like trying to set up some kind of win. And finally he like draws a bunch of cards. I forgot what he drew. He had some weird card tucked underneath Jacob where he drew him like a bunch of cards. And then he goes to pass. He gets to discard a hand size. And he discards Hullbreaker Horror. And he's at this point, he's like completely stopped. We've interacted him. We've got rid of a lot of stuff. The only thing still on the field was like a back to basics. So finally, we stop them, go to my turn, and I draw some cards, and I draw Mean Betrayal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is great. Hullbreaker Horror in your graveyard? Yeah. But there is a Nezahal that did land right before he went for a win under the Kinnan player, which is why I would allow this to go. Man, I keep getting ahead of myself. Jeez. But yeah, so there's a Nezahal. So I'm like, I'm going to draw a bunch of cards. But she doesn't really have anything on the field. I should be fine. So I go Fimage, or not Fimage. I have enough treasures. I had like 6 treasures from the Lotho that's been triggering all this time, and I've like been not cracking any of the treasures. Been like saving them up for this moment. So I'm like, cool. I'm gonna just Mean Betray. No, I Witchclaw Talisman. You know, she draws whatever. 2 to 4 Grand Abolisher. Cast Grand Abolisher. No response. Show Mean Betrayal. Get the whole break. Get a clone effect out of the graveyard. Copy Dockside. Make a bunch of treasures. Cast Hullbreaker Horror. Show some spells. Bounce the Witchclaw back to my hand. Do some more tutoring for some mana rocks, and then show infinite mana to infinite cast with looping with rocks. Make infinite mana. Deck out blue farm player. And then just go for any of my wins. You know, tell the table I can go any win. I got it here. Let me know if you guys want me to play it out. I'll play out whichever line you guys want me to see. Buddy on Jacob's like, oh no, you got it. And then the Italic player again, he's like, see, I told you guys, you know, blue farm's gonna win. We just didn't do anything with them. Like, you know, we didn't interact with them. I'm like, man, what are you talking about? There's a back to basics. There's a one-air kick. Like, I was interacting with, man. I was at a complete halt for this entire game. There's like 5 minutes left on the clock, and I won at the very end because everyone was able to, this Jacob guy just got too scary, and we just happened to have the stuff to stop him. But he wasn't listening, so I was like, all right, whatever, man. That's the kind of attitude you want to have. I mean, whatever. Sure, I can't stop you. All I can try to do is help you out with some words of encouragement. But it's really no one really wants to hear from the blue farm player. So I'm like, whatever, okay. But that's how the game went, and got a win. So I'm like, perfect, awesome. Hopefully I can get a draw in round 4. But I think there's not enough players that I might be getting paired up or down. So hopefully I get lucky and I can get a draw and just, secure myself in the top pot. Which probably won't happen. And I was correct. So we go to round 4, and I get paired down with some people. So now up in first seat is another Kinnan player. There's a lot of Kinnan at this tournament. And second seat was a Tivit player. Great, not seeing a lot of Tivit. But she did say that she was new, and she didn't really know, wasn't very knowledgeable. So I'm like, oh, well, that's, telling her, this is where you learn, man. This, trial by fire. This is great. And then in C3, something spicy was like a Grenzo deck. I don't know what Grenzo does, but I was excited to see it. Also because I kept my hand with Fimage in it, and I'm like, I'm sure you're gonna cast Dockside, and I would love a Dockside. So I was excited to see it. So I keep I think a 6 hand, and it's pretty okay. I had Tainted Pact and some stuff to get out Tymna pretty early. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can probably go for it pretty early if I draw any tutors or whatever. So it's not that bad. So we go around, play some spells, cast some rocks out, and then so turn 2, the Tivit player is like, oh man, it was like land, mana crypt, full ring, mana vault, and we're like, whoa, that's insane. And she's like, yeah, tap the mana vault, tap all out to cast Phyrexian Metamorph. And I was like, oh, damn, you're like new, very inexperienced. Oh, that hurt to see, because I'm like, that was a Tivit turn 2, and cast it makes an arcane signet, and I'm just like flabbergasted. I'm like, there's no way I just saw this happen. I look over to the Kinnan player, and he looks over to me with the same look of like, whoa. So we're like, well, they'll learn the hard way, and copies the arcade signet from the Kinnan just to make sure she has all 3 colors for for the Tivit. And we're like, okay, passes his turn, and I'm like, hey, you had Tivit turn 2 if you just paid life with the Metamorph, and then you didn't have to tap your mana vault. And she's like, oh yeah, I had the mana for it. And I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. So I'm like, all right, I'm excited to see what Grenzo does. And he, lands some rocks, sets up, does nothing. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Go to my turn, set up, whatever. Goes to Kinnan, he sets up some more stuff, passes the turn, and then at end step, the Tivit player shows a Enlightened Tutor at the end step. And I look at Kinnan, and we both look at each other like, wow. Oh, so heartbreaking. She had turn 2 win. I didn't have any interaction. My hand was pretty greedy, or at least interaction for like what was going on. So I'm like, wow, that sucks. That's crazy. Or like, yeah, what do you time sieve? We're assuming. And she's like, no, I think we need to slow down the table. And I'm just like, oh, what do you mean? What are you grabbing? And she shows and puts a grab digger's cage on top. And I'm just like, wow, there's no way I am getting handed this free win. Kenny is looking like, fuck. And Grenza player is looking like, shit. I'm looking over here like, this is fantastic. This is only beneficial for me. And I'm just like, you know, hyping her up like, oh, you know what? Locks down Grenzo, probably graveyard. She's like, yeah, that's what I thought so too. And I'm like, locks down Kinnan, like, oh, this is, yes. You know, that's actually a pretty good hit. Yeah, hell yeah. And goes to her turn, and then right away just fucking windmill slams that card. And Kinnan has no interaction for it, and he's like, yep, it resolves. And obviously Red Rakdos doesn't have anything resolves, and I let it go through. All I had in my hand, I believe, was like, I think it was a Mind Break Trap. I think that's all I had in my hand. So I'm like, yep, cool. And then goes around another cycle. Kinnan doesn't do anything. Goes back to me, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna show combo. I believe I was I think I tutored for Dockside. I'm like, yeah, Dockside. Forgot what else I grabbed. And then just showed WinCon, and everyone's like, you got it. Yeah. No one had any interaction for it. It was really mainly only Tivin and Kinnan if they had anything. Kinnan just shows like, no, I had win attempt on my hand if it wasn't for the Graph Digger's Cage. I had the win. And then Tivin just didn't really have anything meaningful in their hand. So I was like shook. I'm like, wow, you kept that hand, but you had turn two Tivin with win. So I'm like, all right, you know, whatever. And I explained to her at the end, I'm like, hey, you know, you have this at the end, you know, you inline tutor, get the time save, and then you go for a win. Like, you can see on her hands, like, we didn't have anything, you had a win there. And she was beating herself about it, and I felt so bad. She's like, oh my god, I can't believe I had the win. And I'm just trying to, you know, help her out because, you know, my buddy plays Tivit. I played Tivit for a bit because it was like pretty fun when it first like got popular by you know, Ian. And so you know, I was aware of Tivit, and I'm like explaining to her the lines and telling her what she can grab and stuff and all the things for it. And she was still like beating herself about it, but I'm like, you know what, these are things you learn the hard way. Now that you've learned this, you know, you're not going to forget this, and you're going to know this for future games. So, you know, don't worry too much about it. You know, be glad you made, you know, these mistakes early, because then you catch them early and then you don't have to worry about them later. So now I've won, and I am for sure secured in my top 4, and because it was just, you know, 4 rounds because it's top 4. And I was pretty sure at this point I was like, I should be playing in seat 1, everything's pretty good. And then we get to top 4, and I'm not seat 1, I'm in seat 2. Someone beat me out by 3%, and it was, you know, buddy Gabe, Kitten player from the first pot. So I was super stoked to see. I'm like, oh, super fantastic, love it. So we have Gabe up in first seat, me in second seat. We got Fetzer in third seat. Cool buddy, hung out with him after the tournament. And Chad, also great guy, played some Canlander. In that order. So obviously first seat is Kinnan, second seat Blue Farm me, C3 Fetzer on Baby Blue Farm, the Gen Z farm or whatever name, you know, people want to call it. And then C4 Chad with Talia. I was stoked for this pod. I'm like, oh, this looks fantastic. This is probably going to be grinding, you know, mid-range challenge. This is going to suck. But I'm excited with how diverse the pod is. This seems great. I'm assuming all these players are good players. This seems fantastic. So right away we get into it. And sure enough, that's the game plan everyone's going for. We're all, you know, like land, rock, whatever. We're playing slow gameplays, whatever. And then we get to, I think, turn 2 of Italian player. He had a good amount of rocks. He shows a Karn the Great Creator, and I only have 2 rocks. I know Baby Blue Farm has like 4 rocks, and Gabe has like 1 rock, but it was a Grim Monolith and no other land. So I know for sure this would mess him up, and I did have interaction for it, but I was thinking like, man, I have enough lands in my hand. I had like, I think Timna turn 2. Timna turn 1, I believe I had. So or turn two, I forgot. But I was like, yeah, I have my Tymna out. I got enough lands. I got another land in hand. I got some draws going. Like, I actually don't think I care about this card. You know, I'm gonna have my risk study on my next turn. I think I'm fine. I don't know. I'm not gonna. Don't think I need to interact here. Gabe passes. Not sure if he had any interaction or if he thought I would do it or someone else would do it. He passes. I pass priority, and Fetzer in third C was like, yeah, I don't got nothing, and passes. So now we have a Karn locking down the board pretty well. Goes to my turn, cast some stuff out, try to draw some cards, set up, you know, with my board state, you know, Ristic Study, whatever, nothing. Goes over to Fetzer's turn, he gets the Ristic Study out too, you know, pass around, and we get to like, I don't even know how many turns it was of nobody doing anything because of this Karn out. Italian comes out, and we're already like, okay, we're all starting to buckle down for like extra mid-range hell, 9th layer of mid-range hell here with the car now slowing down the table. I'm a little slowed down because I don't have a lot of mana and I just like my lands, but I'm hitting my land drops, so I'm like, I'm doing pretty hot. I'm okay. I got some lands that I'm drawing off these Tymna draws, so you know that does kind of suck. But I'm like got a win attempt at some point. I'm just trying to find enough interaction or like a ground abolisher to like go for it in a better window. So we get through a grueling game of just draw go, do something here, do something there, nothing meaningful. Italian comes out, but too scared to swing with Italian because I got a good amount of attackers to like, you know, do retaliation attacks. Same thing with other people. So we're just like, oh man, you know, whatever. And then we get finally to Fetch's turn, and he's like, you know what, fuck it. And he just rips Thassa, no response. Consultation, no response. Exile his library, Thassa on the stack. Everyone's like, got anything, you got anything? And I'm just like, all I had in my hand was like a silence that I could have cracked at the beginning because I know he tutored like a turn and then he tutored the next turn and then this turn he goes for it. So, you know, I was like, yeah, I mean, I could have, but I know if I just like cast silence or something, like, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was that great. I'm like, whatever. I didn't really want to, you know, cast a silence that had his upkeep and like kind of waste it. But that's all I had. And it was, once he gets a combo, that's kind of too late anyway. So it doesn't really matter. So we're like, and I'm just like, nah, man, I got nothing here, you know? And Gabe, the savior, is like, okay. And he cast a endurance, and Fetch is like, yeah, no response. Shuffles his graveyard back. That's the trigger. Does that's a scry and passes the turn. So we're like, oh no. And we know already, I forgot how it was revealed. I guess it was bounced, or I forgot how it was revealed. But we do know he oh yeah, he tried to pitch a metamorph under the Chrome box, and we told him, oh, you can't do that because it's an artifact. So we know he has a metamorph in his hand. So we're like, okay, he still has another win attempt. And he has demonic consultation that shuffled back into his library. So he has like basically 3 win attempts still. It's not looking good. So we're going through slow games. We're grinding out some Valley. I'm trying to like, you know, set up and trying to go through it, but I'm like losing life from this Talion. We get over to Gabe and he plays his own Talion. So there's like 2 Talions. I'm like, man, I can't go for a combo and like interact, and you know, I'm gonna die to these Talions. So I'm like doing nothing and I'm passing. And then Fetzer goes, it shows another clone effect in his hand to make Thassa, and we're like, uh-oh. And all he did is just to like scry and put the rest of the cards at the bottom. We're like, okay, nothing yet. Goes around the table again, you know, shows the shows another a combo line with consultation, making a combo you know, metamorph with Thassa, show consultation again because he drew it. And we have managed to have the counter spell, and we're like, dude, you didn't have anything? He's like, nope, I had no, it was just, you know, raw dog that win con. I didn't want to get into mid-range hell that we are in currently. This is what I wanted to avoid, and he ripped them. We're just like, bro, that's based. Oh my god, you're nuts. And we go around a grueling table. I'm like, finally gets to a point where I'm like, okay, I got a good enough stuff that I think I want to start, you know, showing that, or at least like getting removal out of people's hand. So I'm like, okay, you know, I show a end of Gabe's turn, like Cyclonic Rift on the card. Counterspell, I show a counterspell, and he shows another counterspell. So I'm like, okay, I got, you know, 3, or yeah, I got some interaction of his hand. I'm good. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna just be like, ah, shit, you know, you got me. Go to my turn, set up some more. Tutor, pass the turn. We go around the table, it gets back to me, and I'm like, cool. I'm gonna show a Ground Abolisher with a Cavern of Souls. No response. I'm like, cool. Tutor for win cons. And then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go for a win. And you know, I show Thassa, consultation, and then because I already knew, I'm like, I know I know he's got it. Talon's like, Odawara targeting Yorgana Bosch. I'm like, cool, hold priority, cast silence. And we're just, the tail like, oh no, we're like, fuck yeah. Silence resolves, go through my loops, show the win, and no one's got anything, and I get there. And I'm just like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Big win for me personally, since I've been on a loss streak, and pretty big overall. I won the Volcanic Island for prize, so I'm like, fantastic. I was like shaking, I was on a big high, butterflies. I was just like, oh my god, I couldn't believe it. This was fantastic. I was so relieved to finally get a win. We go over and I'm like, hey, you know what's going on with I was like talking with Gabe a bit. I'm like, what happened, man? You got nothing? He's like, I got hard stopped by the Karn. I'm like, why didn't you interact with it? He's like, I didn't really have it, and I thought you guys would deal with it too. And I was like, I tried to, kind of. I didn't really need to deal with it. I had enough lands or whatever. But yeah, I could see other people wanting to deal with it first. But yeah, I ended the game with that win, and I had 4 life left over from all the Italian triggers just beating me up and attacked me a few times that I was open. So I like barely got there to do a lot of hard calculations just to make sure I had enough life to go for all the lines before I got rid of them and then could go for free. So that was, man, quite a battle. Early games were a little weird, a little scuffed, but I got there, and that's all that matters to me. Definitely need to clean up some gameplay. I can't, that Jacob game where I missed that trigger still messes me up. But overall, I learned a lot of valuable information, different kind of hands to keep, kind of what to look out for in the tables you're at, kind of judging some people and seeing like how to better interact with people and talk with them. So it was really great. I definitely played a lot more patient game. I know before, I lost a lot of games with, just showing that I was scary. So this tournament, I made a very effort of like trying not to look scary, because Blue Farm, people are just super scared. I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong to be afraid of it, but I think sometimes people just get too afraid of it and they just like hyper focus and tunnel vision on Blue Farm. So I did my best to not show that it was scary. Deployed a minimal amount of resources. Because I also got to think about like, man, this deck runs Dockside. I can just do a big explosive turn. I don't need to jam all my stuff out. I can just ground abolisher, silence, Dockside, go for a win. Like I don't need to do all this stuff. So and let other people be scary, and then I'll deploy my stuff underneath them while they're being scary, and showing a conscious effort that I'm dealing with the table, which I did, and that helped me out helped me win the day and helped me take down this tournament. So that was big help. Obviously, I do want to give credit to Comedian. I did some coaching sessions with them, and it's helped me a lot, and obviously helped me very much because I got a tournament win in a long time, and a pretty big one comparatively to the other ones that I've been to. So that was fantastic. And that's how those games went. The store was pretty cool. They had a really good variety of stuff. Man, I already forgot the name of the store. I would like to shout them out. They were great. Staff was fantastic. Had a great time there. Yeah, it was great. I really liked the area was beautiful, man. Now that I saw it like during the daytime, Ukiah's pretty area. I really liked it. But man, driving up there in the mountains sucked. But the area was fantastic. Man, I can't. Oh man, I'm gonna pull it up. I definitely would love to shout out the store. I had a great time there, and I would like to go back, but man, it is freaking dry for me, unfortunately. Sword and Board. So I want to give a shout out to Sword and Board. Fantastic staff. Thank you so much for holding the event. It was great. I had a great time. Obviously a little biased because I won. But even if I didn't win and I lost in that top 4, to the Fetzer on his baby Blue Farm, I mean, still would have been great. I had a great time. Got to meet some great people, connect with some great folks afterwards. Went over to Fetzer's house, play some more Magic, and do some extracurricular activities with some substances, perhaps of variousness. It was great, and then had some food. So it was fantastic. We had a great time. Spent the night there, and it was fantastic. It was great. Lovely time. But yeah, that's how the tournament went. Oh goodness. And yeah, it was fantastic. So let's I want to talk about some Modern Horizons free spoilers. Okay, so I see there's some new ones that popped up too, so let me go over some of those. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so first one I want to talk about is, I'm going to try to put them up somewhere on the screen if possible, but first one I got is Wheel of Potential, another wheel card. So sorcery, 2 colors, 1 red, you get 3 energy, then you may pay X energy. Each player may exile their hand and draw X cards. If X is 7 or more, you may play cards you own exiled this way until the end of your next turn. Whoa, that's pretty cool. I don't know how cEDH viable this is. It's, you get 3 energy and then you pay X energy. So 3 mana, 3 energy, and each player may exile the hand and draw X cards. So 3. So 3 for 3. I don't know how good it is. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see how much better, more energy generating cards come out from this set. But at base here, I don't think it's gonna be that great in cEDH. Just because there's just 3 mana and you get a for sure wheel instead of this. But if you have 7 or more energy that you can spend on this, it's pretty cool because then you can cast those exiled cards. Oh man, but then actually you exile your hand. Damn, that's more. Ooh, that's crazier than they're just wheel because they lose those resources. Wow, that could be a lot better. Huh. And if you're in some kind of food chain deck, you probably don't care if they get exiled, especially if you got like, you know, Squee or the other cards for food chain. Wow. Potential. Next up, I want to talk about is, let me see. Oh, this new one here. Whoa, this is pretty nice. Sink into Stupor. It's 1 colorless, 2 blue, instant. It is a MDFC card, so on the backside looks like it's a land. And it's instant speed. Return target spell or non-land permanent and opponent controls to its owner's hand. Okay. That's all right. Like a little remand action. Pretty modal. That's always good. For 3 mana though, I don't know. It is like another land, but I'm assuming it's a tapped land because it's an uncommon. So I'm pretty sure the backside is just gonna be a tapped, you know, mono blue source. So I don't know if this is gonna see any play, but you know, just more options on a single card. It's pretty cool. Let's look at some other ones. Let's see. I know there's a particular one would love to talk about. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we have 6. This is also pretty new. 6 is 2 colorless, 1 green, legendary creature, tree folk, 2/4. Reach. Whenever 6 attacks, mill 3 cards. You may put a land card from among them into your hand. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace. Whoa, this is pretty cool. This is the kind of cards I want to see from green. Really help pump it out and be better and give it some power. Because right now, I remember when Tim the Thrasios, when I was like first cutting my teeth in cEDH on Mono White and learning the format. Man, that was the boogeyman. Like blue farm is the current one, I guess. But that deck was like dominating. It was everywhere. You couldn't stop it, man. It was crazy. So this is, I think, might help, you know, push green to be in something more viable. Maybe now you can do some weird shenanigans with this, you know, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace. I don't know what. Maybe the Get Wrong monster might like this, and we might more see of it. Might see more of him. I know there's another card I want to talk to that might be pretty good with him as well. So this seems interesting. I don't know what this could do because I'm not really a graveyard centric, you know, player. So couldn't tell you right away what implications this might have other than helping out Breach in, you know, red, green, red decks that maybe don't have white. Because, you know, there's like Savine lines, but now we have 6 that might do some stuff out. Maybe some Hulk stuff, maybe. I don't know. I think Hulk's bad. So I'm not sure. But yeah, that's pretty cool to see. I really want to see what some of the more knowledgeable people, when they see cards and they're like, oh, they already have other cards in mind, and it clicks for them right away. So I'm definitely excited to see more come out of that. So that's going to be cool to see. Let's move on down to some other cards. So where's that one card I want to talk about? Oh, right. This card is freaking nutty. It's power balance. Double red enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you do, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the two spells have the same mana value. Whoa, I don't know if Blue Farm's gonna play this, but it is nuts, especially in Stella. If I'm reading this correctly, this goes around timing restriction. So if you reveal a sorcery, sure, you cast it right then and there. But either way, this sounds phenomenal. For sure, mono red decks are gonna love this. Low red color decks might like this. Man, maybe even Niv Mizzet it just to be able to like get some more triggers off of Niv. This seems like fantastic in Niv too. But this is like, oh man, nuts. They're like, in my opinion, really pushing red in this set so far. And this seems nuts. I'm excited to play this in Stella Lee. This seems like it's gonna really help out Stella. This is like fantastic. I really like this. I don't know how well this is gonna help out any of the lower tier decks, if at all. I'm sure it might help out Magda in getting out more combos or just getting out some stuff, interaction, other things that they can do. I don't know if this is gonna help out like Odo. I don't know. Like, I don't really play red. I just play blue farm really, and the only red is just Dockside Breach. So again, I can't really talk too much about this card. I don't really play a lot of red, so I don't know how good this card actually is. But at first glance, this seems really nuts to me. But let's move on to the next card here. Let's see, where is the other one? Oh, of course. Everyone's been talking about it. Necro Dominance. 3 black, legendary enchantment. Relevant. Skip your draw step. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay an amount of life. If you do, draw that many cards. You have your maximum hand size is 5. If a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. This seems, now I know technically it is potentially a worse Necropotence, but just having a second Necropotence effect is phenomenal. I don't know if this is going to be ran in blue farm. I know for sure it has to go into Rockside just to make sure you like hit this effect, like just to have another one. Like, yeah, you can, Rockside for sure can win with 5 cards. Like, this seems nuts. Like, they might play maybe a slower game, but like this just makes it easier to like have those turbo wins. So this seems like super nuts. Regardless, like, yeah, technically worse than Necropotence, but it's still fantastic card. So that's cool to see. We'll see how it plays off. I don't even know if Sisse is gonna play it because it's, I know it's a legendary champion, but it's 3 black pips, so I don't know if that's like good enough for Sisse to play. I know, this is good for Kirik. This is good thing to see for Kirik. Just give some more power there. I would love to see Kirik come back. I know they was here for a hot second, then went away, so I would like to see more of these cards, these larger pip cards to come out to help decks like Kirik and other low black color decks, and not like 1 black pip and 2 colorless. So freaking blue farm can play it, because yes, I know I play blue farm because it's the best deck in the format, but that's because Wizards keep printing stupid cards with low cost, like Dockside should have been double red. They keep printing these cards because they want people to play multiple colors, and it just hurts particularly our format, and honestly it just homogenizes everything, which sucks. So I'm all for having these harsher colored pip costs for cards, especially the more powerful they are. I think they definitely need to do that, or at least go back to doing that. So that's Necro Dominance. Pretty cool card. Excited to see what comes out of that. What other what people can find with this, better combos, or if it's just redundancy. Let's see, what do we got here? Right, another one. Tempt with Mayhem. 1 colorless, double red, instant. Tempting offer. Choose target instant or sorcery spell. Each opponent may copy that spell and may choose new targets for the copy they control. You copy that spell once, plus an additional time for each opponent who copied the spell this way. You may choose new targets for the copies you control. Obviously, right away, someone's gonna show a D-tutor, and you're just gonna tempt with Mayhem, and I'll get X amount of tutors, and even though you guys get 1, and I'll get more. So this seems phenomenal. There's a lot of copy spells, and a lot of people are just like, they're kind of trash or whatever. But this is pretty good. I can see this in like I don't know about blue farm because finding room for this is kind of rough. It is double red pip, but in like maybe Jeskai or something, you know, someone tutors. And since you don't really have a lot of good tutors, you can show tempting offer and be like, yeah, sure, everyone else can tutor. I will tutor, you know, what was it, each opponent may, yeah. So like, yeah, everyone tutors and then you tutor, so you get yours and then 3. So you was like, yeah, I'll get 4 tutors. Sure. Put in my hand a silence, interaction, and like win con. Like, yeah, you know, go to your turn, grant abolisher, and show breach line or something. Like, this seems, I think, really good in like Jeskai, possibly even like, you know, Niv Mizzet or some other, you know, 3 color less red decks. This seems really good. Definitely a little scary because you're giving other opponents, you know, copies of the same stuff. But like, if you're copying a tutor, you're getting 4 tutors if I'm counting correctly. That's really good. I'll take that trade. That seems like a good trade. That seems fantastic. So we'll see if what comes about that card. At a first glance, I love it. I'm, like I said, red is getting pushed. So it's really cool to see. We'll see how everything turns out at the very end. Right. So the last thing I want to go over is the cycle, the flare cycle. So let's start out with in the order that I see them. So right now we have Flare of Duplication, 1 colorless, red instant, and you may sacrifice a non-token red creature rather than pay this spell's mana cost. So basically that is what you're going to see for all the colors. Each one's going to sacrifice a non-token, you know, color of that card. So for the red one, obviously it's a non-token red creature. So what does this do? Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It's another copy effect, but now it's a free version of it. Pretty good. They're not that powerful, but this one being free instant speed, I think might be good enough to see in some play in cEDH. I wouldn't be surprised to see it. But yeah, you know, we see these effects all the time. This one I think might be the one time we actually see it. I know like MacLeod plays like Fork and other effects like this, so I'm sure MacLeod will probably play this. You know, I'm sure you can sack some, you know, whatever dwarf fodder for it. You know, to copy like a, you know, D-tutor or something. Like, yeah, I can see them playing this card for sure. So that's pretty good. Maybe even like other cards too that are mono red or red X that needs a little bit of interaction or something. So, you know, pretty good. I don't know how easy it's going to be for some decks to have a creature to sack, which we'll go over for the blue one for blue farm. But yeah, so we'll go over it now. So there's Flare of Denial. I'm sure you've seen this already. Colorless, double blue, instant, same thing as the last one. Sack a non-token blue creature for free. Counter target spell. In blue farm, I think, at least in my list, the only 2 cards that are blue is Lavinia and Thassa. So obviously this is great to be able to protect your Thassa. I'm sure like Roxai will probably play this just to protect their Thassa win. But other decks, I'm not sure. Like blue farm, I don't really have. Like I have Image, but that usually becomes another card, like usually Dockside, so it's not blue. There's Metamorph, but same thing, it'll copy something. So I don't really have the blue creatures to pay for free, so I don't think I'll be playing it in blue form, at least in my list. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe some other value blue creatures that people are going to start running now just to be able to have this in the deck. Not sure. I know like a cheeky thing you can do is have Malevolent Hermit, you know, stack it for this and then, you know, get it back from the graveyard. Now your non-creature spells have are uncounterable. So there's that kind of cheeky thing you can do, but I don't know how good that's actually going to be. But that's the Flare of Denial. And now we have the black one here, the Flare of Malice. 2 colorless, double black, instant, free if you sack a non-token black creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest amount of value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. Meh, that's removal. Make someone sack the Crom, and then it's gonna sack with whatever, like greatest amount of value. I could guess I could get rid of a Hullbreaker. I don't think it's that great. I'm sure some decks might run it because they have some black creatures, but I don't know. I don't see that it's that great. I don't really have much to talk about or go over this one. It doesn't seem, this is whatever to me. But let's move on over to the other flares. Where's the other ones at? Where did they go? That was, what is that? Blue, red, black. Right, there's a green flare. Where's the green flare at? Okay, it's not on this list. What happened to it? Well, the green flare is basically a free cultivate. It's 1 colorless, 2 green, sorcery speed, and it just has cultivate text on it, which is definitely the worst one out of all of them. If it was instant speed, I guess it might be better. It would be cool. But the fact that it's instant sorcery speed, just like, you know, I'm not playing cultivate. Why would I play this card? Like, sure, in green decks they'll have more fodder to sack for it to be free, and then, like, I guess double cultivate. You know, cultivate, sack green here, cast cultivate again. It's the worst one out of all of them, I think. And the white one is next. So that's all I got to say about the green one. It sucks. I don't expect to see him play. But there is white one, which is Flare of Fortitude, 2 colorless, white, instant. I'm surprised that it wasn't like 6 colorless, 2 white, sorcery speed, and you know, you can only cast it on the 10th turn of the game. You know, they always like to nerf white. Same thing, sacrifice a non-token white creature, pay for free. Until end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. I was really hoping for a Angel's Grace like effect. I think that would have been much better. Like, this seems great in casual, but it just doesn't do anything in cEDH, unfortunately, because Dasa doesn't care what your life is. Breach, Brain Freeze doesn't care what your life is. Yeah, this kind of just is not that great. Fantastic in casual for sure, but I don't think it's that great. I mean, I guess you could also like Flare of Fortitude, like Adnos, I guess, and then draw your whole deck. But that's something pretty niche. I don't know if there's other effects that you can pay life, and like I don't know how that works. If you're paying life for it, does that mean it won't change and your life will just stay the same? You can pay infinite amount of life. Then I guess you could Flare of Fortitude, Necropons, exile like all but 1 card, draw your whole deck, and you know for sure you're gonna be able to, you know, draw your Born Upon Wind and go for it. If that's the case, maybe I'll be able to see this. I definitely have more white creatures in my blue farm list, so if that works how I think it does, that sounds fantastic. That would be cool to do. I'm sure there are other combos that you have to pay life, and now that your life can't change, you can, you know, this will help those out, but that's a lot of resources to use, so I don't know how great it's gonna be. But that's pretty good. In those little niche stuff, I don't know how well that's gonna be. I'm sure the people are gonna, you know, show more better combos for it and talk about it, so we'll see how that goes. But that's really all that I have that I wanted to talk about. Cards that I was excited for, cards that I'm, you know, excited to see how they shake up the meta, if at all. So we'll see how it goes from there. More leaks are coming, I'm sure, by the time this video comes out. There's already been a bunch of other leaks that have come out that I've missed, but that's just kind of what's out now that I've wanted really to talk about. But that's gonna be it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for coming by and listening. We'll see you next week, definitely with Dylan back in here with me, talking about definitely some more Modern Horizon spoilers, and hopefully going over some more tournament reports on how they go. Don't think there's any really big ones coming up this weekend, actually. Let me double check. I don't recall what's coming up this weekend. Let's see here. What's this weekend? Saturday 18th. So 18th we have Chaos Treasure Series. I'm not a big fan of the Chaos tournaments, but you know, honestly, it's kind of, I don't really have an option out here in California. There's not a lot of big tournaments happening, so I'm kind of forced to attend these. I'm pretty sure I've, you know, expressed my displeasure and of them. I've had a lot of negative experiences with them, so I don't really look forward to them, but you know, it's really the only kind of tournaments out there to, you know, satiate my itch for cEDH, unfortunately. That just seems to be the situation going down, which kind of sucks. But yeah, that's it for today. I'm gonna be attending that tournament. Hopefully I do well and things go smooth. I know that's a big ask with Chaos tournaments, but hopefully things go well and I get top 16. That would be fantastic to do. That's it, guys. Hope to see you in Chaos. Hopefully, you know, some of you I can see in top 18 and it all goes well for me and I get another win. That would be fantastic. again, thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. It'll definitely help us out very much. Share this video with all your friends, your enemies, your foes, all your ops, everybody that you can think of. Send this video to. And help us grow. Comment down below what you guys are most excited for Modern Horizons 3. If you think anything is gonna shake up the meta, if anything really, anything that caught your mind, or some sleepers that you might have caught and no one's talking about, I'd love to hear it for you guys to talk about it in the comments below. Let's talk about Modern Horizons and see what kind of stuff we can show up. Maybe some better decks have popped up now with some of these cards to really bring some life back into cEDH, because honestly, I know a lot of people are sick and tired of Blue Farm. Even though I'm playing Blue Farm, I know, but I'm playing it just because I know it's the strongest deck. So hopefully something comes around. Like, I'm excited. Like, if Stella League gets super hot with power balance and other cards, like, I might be switching to Stella League because I've been having a great time with her. But yeah, so let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Modern Horizons 3. And yeah, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week. Oh, I should say it for Dylan. And don't forget to roll for Crypt. I'll see you guys later. Good night.